Hello and welcome back to Rugby Pod. I'm Andy Ryan, big Jim and Goodey with me as usual. We'll be turning all our attention on the British and Irish Lions as we look ahead to the first test this weekend. The guys picked their starting test team and we're heading inside the Lions camp to find out how Warren Gatland's men have been preparing. So settle back, take your shirt off, take your pants off, you can take your mask off as well if you want to. And make sure you've subscribed to Spotify. Happy Freedom Day, lads. How are you?
In England.
Freedom! Are you in England, Jim, are you?
No, I'm in Scotland. There's no freedom here, even though we made up freedom. I don't want to get all historic and political, but we made up the phrase freedom, and we're not free. We're still wearing a mask. Don't wear a mask. Eat out. Don't eat out. Get isolated. Don't get isolated. But then if you do get isolated, you can isolate, but don't isolate. But we've changed our minds. We are going to isolate. I'm in Scotland, so not a lot's changed up here, but there was a bit of freedom. I was down in London last week, and I know it wasn't quite Freedom Day, and I'm not going to give you the full story, but I was down in London on Tuesday night. Who goes out on a Tuesday night?
No one, or everyone now. There's people out on Sunday night, last night, because it was Freedom Day. Actually, the nightclubs opened at 12:01, and they were packed, apparently.
Is that true or not? Because I did see some things on the news saying that people, and it's smart when you think about it, because I'm thinking Freedom Day is Monday. So therefore, Monday night, nightclub night. I ain't smart enough to think on a Sunday, actually, the minute it goes 12:01, it's Freedom Day then, and nightclubs are open. Is that true or not? Or is this just kind of
true.
a bit of a kind of nightclub conspiracy going on? There's a lot of conspiracies going on in a nightclub.
Yeah, it wasn't me.
But anyway, I was down in London Tuesday. Who goes out on a Tuesday night? Me. And I was with rival, friend, colleague, who I used to play with him. Can I say his name? I'll say it. The Hask. I was out with James Haskell for, let's just say, one beer responsibly. It could have been 40, but let's just say one because it was Tuesday night and who goes out on a Tuesday night. But there we go. We'll just leave that there. We'll maybe talk about that more next week because it is a big week. And look, we need some integrity when we talk about what's coming up. But anyway, nightclubs are open. It's Freedom Day down in England. Goodey's back off holiday. He's blown up to 18 stone or wherever it is. Sun's out. Bum bag's out. And I'm not a fan of the sun. I'm going to put it out there. I like the sun, but I don't like lying out in the sun. I'm warm-blooded, lads. Warm-blooded, like the cold, and that's why I live in Scotland. But anyway, I've had a great week. Thank you for asking, Andy Rowe. If that was the question, I'm just hitting you with it.
Yeah, it was. Did you tell Beck it was a quiet one? You had one beer, or do you have 40 beers? What was the story that Beck found out?
What do you mean what she found out? Well, what she found out was the truth, Andrew. I told her I got in at 12. I didn't tell her it was 12 in the afternoon. I did tell her it was 12 at night. Who goes out on a Tuesday? All I'm saying, nothing's open on the Tuesday night, lads. It was a quiet one. Me and Hask reconnected. Not that we had unconnected, but, some people see us as rivals. I just see us as two alpha males going about their business. Who's trying to make the most white noise on social media? Well, Hask's winning that. He is. He's winning that, and he's doing his thing. We're doing our thing. See, I've put me and you together, Goodey. Like, as in we, it's him and we. And it was good to see him. I like Hask. Got a lot of time.
And when were you? You said you said you're old teammates. When were you old teammates?
Well, when I thought I was English, and he was English. Yeah, it was a weird time for me, lads. I was in this weird period. And I've mentioned it before, a lot of people are in these periods now. Like, you don't know who you are, what you are. Who am I? I'm Sean Valjean. And I was English Jim then. And now I'm Scottish James. So
there we go.
I'll reiterate, it was good to see him. Andrew, you were missed, but you were obviously, I was going to say, eating on holiday. How was it? So I've asked you many a times because I've got a few weeks off after the Lions. Well, at least I think I have. There's no ruggers. But I can't go on holiday because the kids are back at school. So the timings just don't work. Is it a place? Can I get there? Will I be allowed? Red, amber, green, blue, orange, purple, whatever the colour is. Can I go to Spain, Mallorca? Is it worth it? Countdown, lads. All right, lads.
Well, first and foremost, I'm back. And I don't know if it's holiday blues or what. I'm so positive today. Back off a 10-day holiday with a family. It was unbelievable. It was unbelievable. We came back Sunday evening. So we got in just before the old 4 a.m. Mallorca's kicking into the amber list, so we don't have to self-isolate, which is great. Don't quite understand that, how you can fly in at 3:59 and you don't have to self-isolate, but if you're playing lands at 4:01, you're fucked and you're in 10 days.
It gets you after 4, it gets you, apparently.
So, we had a great week and, positivity. There's a lot of love in Mallorca for the podcast. starting off, I'll be honest, like family time with the missus and the kids, and we had a really good time by the pool, and then we're going out for dinners, and I'm just getting stopped everywhere. Goody, love the pod. Where's Big Jim? I said he's home with his kids. He doesn't want to bring them on holiday. He's too tired.
Hating life.
With my phone. Yeah. But there's a lot of love in Mallorca for the podcast, boys. Andy Rowe, no one asked after you, but they did ask after Big Jim.
Locals. See, I didn't even flinch when you said that about Andy Rowe. Locals or people on holiday. So chavs.
Well, both actually.
Miguel.
In terms of locals that live out there. So they're Brits abroad that live out there, and then obviously holidaymakers. But yeah, I mean, we went down every night to 2 different ports, Port Andrax and Porto Portals for dinner. And I'll just say, one night I've got out the taxi with the kids, and bearing in mind the kids are 3, Mrs. is there, sat in a beautiful port, Porto Portals, outside at a restaurant. Kids are happy. I've got a gin and tonic. Mrs. has got a gin and tonic. Kids have got the iPad, so they're quiet.
And a gin and tonic, make them sleep. I don't think you say that. No.
We're just connecting as a family, and then a bunch of lads come up and like, Goody, how are you? Literally come and stand over the table. Really polite, get up, say hello to them, have a couple of pictures. Mrs. The kids are looking at me like, what's Dad doing, the weirdo? Dad, sit down. Dad,
legend.
And the missus like being polite to these kids and missus being polite to these lads and all this stuff. And it carries on. They keep talking to me. I'm like, all right, lads, good to see you. I'm just going to have some food with the family. I'll come for a beer in a bit. And the throwaway comment is, I'll come over to your table for a beer in a bit. Of course, I'm with the family. I ain't just going to leave the family and walk over to them, have a load of beers. And
why? Why not?
Because I'm a good father, James. I'm a good father. Anyway, so we get to the end of the night, had 6 or 7 G&Ts in us now, and it's dark, and those boys have had a few more. It's getting a bit more rowdy. I can see there's a decent bar down the end with this buzzing, and we've got the kids. Mrs. takes the kids into the restaurant to go to the bathroom before we get a taxi. I was like, I'll get a taxi, you take the kids to the bathroom, and then we'll jump off. As she's come back outside, these lads have come to my table again. They're like, Goody, you staying? Tell me you're staying. Tell me you're staying out for the night. Send the missus and the kids back in the taxi. You stay out.
And at that point, you lit a camel. No?
No, I didn't, no. At that point, the missus has heard them say, Goody, send the kids and the missus back in the taxi. You stay out. And she's walked in. She's like, you can keep him. Not only can you keep him for tonight, you can keep him for the whole fucking week if you want to. And they were like, yeah, definitely, lads, definitely. And I'm like, no, I'm getting the taxi with the missus. I was like, lads, quickly, someone kidnap me quickly. Someone take me, and I'll just make out it's a kidnapping, and the missus will go home and we'll have an amazing night. And I was obviously wanted to stay out with those lads, but the responsible thing, myself, get in the taxi, make sure the girls are happy. It's all about the twins, and it's all about family life. So we go back to the hotel. But I was buzzing all week. We had a great time with the family. Some unbelievable fish in a load of different restaurants. But the love of the pod outside of, we've been living in lockdown now for 15, 16 months. And when you get out into the public domain and you see people enjoying themselves on holiday and they love the podcast, it's a little pick-me-up. So yeah, I'm pretty good. Nice little town. Back from my holidays, back head down working again, and then we'll have another holiday hopefully in August.
No doubt. Well, let me just say a quick hello to all my Spanish amigos. I don't know if you can say amigos now, or Miguelos. Hola, bon chance, mon ami. Hola, gracias, gratis.
Should we talk about some rugby now then?
Paella. I'll just throw that one in there. Paella.
Well, it's finally here, lads. The first test of the British and Irish Lions tour in South Africa. You excited about that?
I am.
I can't wait. Yeah.
We actually got there. Me and Andrew, I don't know whether together collectively or in our little circles of cliques, we were downbeat on the Lions tour. Let's be honest about it. Until there was that non-fourth South Africa A, but it was really the Springbok team, anyone that was fit. Game was played. And that got the juices flowing, lads. Now, there's still a few days to go. Anything can change. As we know, I don't want to be the man that brings it down. But I am Scottish. I am dour. I see the negatives in a lot of things. But not this, lads. I am pumped for the weekend. Absolutely pumped. And it's all going to be around who's playing, who's going to be in the first test. Alun Wyn Jones, Lazarus being captain. But Andrew, I'll let you ask them questions. In answer to your question, I'm pumped. We're here. There's been a long build-up. We've been on here chatting crap for weeks. And there was a lot of question marks whether it would go ahead or not. Fans or no fans, having seen that game against Springbok A, the Springboks, that got my juices flowing. And we're in for a real treat. I just hope that we see the 3 tests in a row, and we know it's going to be competitive. And let's hope there's a bit of drama, because without drama, where will we be?
Yeah, definitely. It is true, isn't it? What Jim said and everyone said, what happened last week with that South Africa A team has really brought the tour back to life, really, hasn't it? It was kind of just bobbling along with 50, 60 point wins. And, you could all see that it was just about the test series. South Africa as a nation has been sort of burning itself down from within. The stories have changed there over the last few weeks in terms of what's gone on politically, but also the nature of how bad COVID is there. And just that one selection by Rassie Erasmus and Jack Nienaber, of the South African A team, which everyone said is a test. And they had the right to do it, really, didn't they? Because their test against Georgia got called off, the second one, for COVID reasons and the amount that was ripping through both camps, actually. They've gone through all the protocols testing it. But when you see Eben Etzebeth in a team, you see Faf de Klerk, a lot of the boys that are World Cup winners, and the pipes on Eben Etzebeth charging down Owen Farrell's kick, the Lions tour is getting serious. And
he's only got one. He's only got one pipe now. The other one's from. Brilliant. He's Andrew, sorry to keep cutting you off. He's probably got 2 pipes, 2 out of 3, and one of them is his arm.
Yeah, definitely. So it's great to see, and it's really, whetted the appetite for what's to come, and the whole narrative around what team Gatland picks. Everyone's got an opinion around that. There's no clear and obvious. I reckon if every pundit and every fan wrote down their teams 1 to 23, 1% of people might get it right.
Well, I am in that 1%, Andrew. I reckon I'm in that 1%.
There's so many tough calls, isn't there? And that's what the 60-point droppings have shown us, that everyone's in form, and how hard it is to pick a test team when you've got a lot of players in form. And the games have been average until we play South Africa A. So, the hype is back up, and we're booming and ready to go for this Saturday.
What did we learn from that game against South Africa?
I was going to say, it's difficult, really, because the Lions didn't actually show too much in terms of their attack. They didn't really drive any line-outs, which we know are going to be a big part of any game. Attack-wise, is that we only put 1 or 2 plays on, I think, really. And it was kind of cagey. Owen Farrell played at 10, and it was probably a plan, but they kicked a hell of a lot in terms of how England have played in the Six Nations, which we know didn't get them very far. So was that a tactical decision to not show their hand too much, having seen what South Africa A team was picked? You just don't know. Was it Farrell revert back to type of what he knows and playing a territorial kicking-based game, because that's what South Africa do, and it was trying to win that kicking battle? So what did we learn? We knew that the South Africans are hard. We knew that physically they're going to come after us, as we know. We know the set-piece battle was going to be huge, but we also found out that there's certain parts of South Africa's game, they haven't played that much rugby. Second half, they were flagging a bit. And so that's when you think tactically, do we change things to say, actually, we've got to accept there's going to be a physical confrontation. We know that. But the flip side of it is we can run them ragged at times, and with more accuracy and get them absolutely blowing by 60 minutes, we can win the second test in that last 20 minutes by having pace, power and accuracy, and playing a game that they perhaps can't handle because they're not as game ready as perhaps they would have been had the world been as normal as it could be. So I don't know. What are your thoughts on it, Jim?
Well, I think the Lions were shocked in that first half. There's physicality, right? And there's talk of going to South Africa and playing South African teams. It's going to be physical. And then there is getting absolutely monstered by one bloke. And we saw that, just how physical. Look how physical they were close to their try line. I know there was the talk around Faf de Klerk's tackle going slightly high. If your smallest man in your team is wanting to hit you that hard, imagine what it feels like being hit by Peter Steph de Toy and Eben Etzebeth and anyone else, and anyone else in that team. If Faf de Klerk is willing to hit you that hard, take the fact out it was slightly high. If he was 2 inches lower, it would have been really hard.
It's illegal as well, isn't it? Because he's not wrapped his arm.
Well, there's a few illegal hits. I quite enjoyed, not the illegal hits, I enjoyed the interactions between Rassie and Warren Gatland and all that stuff. I think it adds to it. My thing is I think it benefited the Lions more playing that game because it shocked them into knowing how physical it is really going to be. If that's South Africa undercooked, having played one game, a team run against Georgia, and the Lions, let's remember, most of these Lions players have played all season. and they've played in big games, they've played in the Six Nations, high pressure games, physical games. If that's South Africa's first proper hit out, and they are absolutely monstering you, then I can only see that as a positive for the Lions, because they now know if that was the first test, right, then I don't know if there's a way back for them. But the fact that it wasn't, I think stands us in a much better position. But it shows to me that it's on, because South Africa, half of that squad, I don't know if that squad itself have had COVID. Like I said, they've not played. The Lions really, when you think about it, were primed to play that game in terms of the build-up that they've had, and they lost. So I think I've seen enough in that South Africa team to make me think that they could win the series. But I've also seen enough of the Lions. And have we seen enough of the Lions? I say that. They had another team run at the weekend. Now, this is where it comes down to selection. I think you're in a better position to pick players that fronted up against South Africa A than you are against players that played exceptionally well in team runs against the Sharks, and with no disrespect, the Stormers, because you're going to get a better gauge, aren't you, in terms of Tom Curry. Let's talk about him. I put out in my starting 15 that I'd have Tom Curry. I want Hamish Watson to play. We've learned nothing about Hamish Watson except that he's an unbelievable player, because Hamish hasn't been tested. Tom Curry got tested against South Africa A. Hamish Watson didn't. Now, this is the whole debate around, does Gatland pick based on how well players have played on tour? Well, again, to reiterate the point, they've been training runs effectively. Or does he pick on past form and players that fronted up in that game on Wednesday night? That's going to be the big question.
Yeah, and I added into that as well what you said then about if that was the first test and the Lions lost it, there's no coming back from it. There is obviously a chance that you can come back in a 3-test series, but I think there's only ever one tour that's lost the first test and then won the series, which was Finlay Calder's lot in, was it 1989 or something? So, historically, you're talking, you lose the first test and it's very, 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 very tough to come back from to win the series. So, there's other things to talk about as well around, it's still not confirmed, but everyone's saying that all the games, all the test matches are now going to be based in Cape Town, which is a huge positive for the Lions as well, in terms of not having to play at the high veld, because that would have given the Springboks a massive advantage. So, Jim's right. It's hard to pick. It's hard to read into too much. I think back, you mentioned Hamish Watson there. I think back to one of the early games. I think it was against the Lions when I've tweeted how hard's Hamish Watson. Hell of a player, physical, both sides of the ball. He got player of the Six Nations, didn't he? So, but then again, Jim's right. That was a team run. So he can only do what he's done against the opposition he's had. But you see the boys that were tested, and I think Gatland will look at some guys and go, well, he's played himself into a test jersey. Maybe the Curry over Hamish Watson, because Curry has had that real stern test. And there'll be other players that will get picked on a bit of, take Courtney Laws, for example. I'm picking Courtney Laws at 6 in my team because I think he holds a fair bit of credit in the bank with how he can perform. We haven't necessarily seen it because I know Warren Gatland's wrapped him up a little bit in cotton wool in the last few weeks just to get him bang on ready for this test match. And you're seeing some of the comments come out of the coaches around the selection meetings. They're going to go on for hours. There's going to be a lot of tough calls. You could look at every position pretty much and debate. There's not many. Maratoji's a clear selection as one second row. I look down the rest of the team that I've picked, and even then, say again.
So what about Alun Wyn Jones? He came off the bench against the Stormers. Did he look like he was ready for the first test?
I'm waiting for Jim's apology. Just say it, Jim.
How? How has he come back? Well, all right, he's hard. No doubt about it. There's absolutely no doubt about it in my mind that Alun Wyn Jones is hard. For me, this is it for him, isn't it? So even if you're 70% fit, you're chancing your arm, in my opinion. And in answer to your question, Andy Rowe, he looked good when he came on. He did. I'd say a couple of big shots. He got stuck in. He looked busy in the loose. And I think everyone's happy to see him back. Genuinely, hand on heart, I'm happy to see him back. I think he starts as captain now. I think why else have you brought him back? If you're not going to play him in the first test, Like, you're not going to wait for the second test or third test, are you? He's into play, in my opinion. So I think we'll see Alun Wyn Jones start. I think he did enough in the game that we saw him to warrant starting. Like, you know, if you're going to come off the bench and your shoulders stayed in, then get in there, boss, your captain. Warren Gatland's come back and said, mate, Conor Murray, you're no longer captain. Alun Wyn Jones, you're in. And what that does do is maybe open up an opportunity for Ali Price, who, let's face it, has been better than Conor Murray. When you look at it, what does it come down to, though? Ali Price has been on the front foot the whole time. Has he really, really been tested? You know, Conor Murray played against South Africa, and Gareth Davis was on the bench. So we've not seen Ali Price under that much pressure. We've seen him on the front foot. So maybe contradicts my first statement around picking guys that are proven. But yeah, I think Alun Wyn Jones, I think we'll see him and Marrow in the second row. And I'm pumped for him. I mean, what a story. If he comes through and the Lions win the series, and I mean, there is no denying the credentials about, well, there's no denying his credentials now, Alun Wyn Jones. Maybe I questioned him one or two times. But look, he's publicly said that has pushed him to want to get back there. He's listened to the podcast on the way home after the Japan game, the week after, and he's like, I'm going to prove these fuckers wrong. And you've done it again. You've done it again. So keep doing it, Alun Wyn. Keep doing it and keep fighting that good fight.
I think the thing on it as well is a lot of people are kind of saying, how has that happened? It's a big risk. It's this, it's that. You got to remember that these medics, not only the Welsh medics that are putting through his paces, and now the Lions medics, there's no physio or doctor in the world that's going to let him go back on the tour and play if he's not in that physio or doctor's mind good enough to go and do it. You know, it's not a case of he wouldn't have been on the bench at the weekend, and you know, you're not going to allow someone to be at risk. There's always a risk when you're on the field of picking up an injury. And okay, if you've got we've all had shoulder injuries or whatever, where you know there's another chance of it going, but they're never going to risk him to an extent of he's fucked, so he's not going to be good enough to, his shoulder's not going to be right to play. You know, clearly he's at a level where physically in that position, and Jim, you'll know more about this than anyone, it's not like you're a winger where you don't actually need your shoulder half the time to play rugby. Second rows, you need to be able to jump, hit rucks, scrummage, absolutely everything, blast mauls, whatever. Shoulders are pretty important in that. A winger can hide, sometimes an outside centre can hide. I played at 10 with pop shoulders where I was defending at fullback and I was playing touch rugby the whole game, but that's probably my whole career anyway. So there is a huge difference between a second row as hard as Alun Wyn Jones doing it and people saying, oh, it's a massive risk. Those medics are not going to put them in a position to, if they don't feel that his recovery is good enough. So yeah, I'm with Jim. Now he's there. Fucking get him skips, get him starting. Let's get behind Alun Wyn Jones, his finger sucking, his bold head, his quality. He's a quality operator. And let's Lions are winning this 3-0. Come on, Alun Wyn.
If they win it 3-0, if the Lions win it 3-0 and Alun Wyn Jones comes through this series, I will put out there, me doing the splits, maybe not the top off. I'll see how I look in 3 weeks. And I will suck my finger. I'm telling you now, that's what I'll do. Andrew, that's what I'll do for you if this is what unfolds. Just as a thank you to Alun Wyn Jones.
And will you shave your head as well?
I might not do that. I shaved it during lockdown, but with that, everything's opening back up now, isn't it? So you've got to get back on brand. That's what people want. And if I head out to Mallorca with all the chavs, countdown, they ain't going to recognise me with bald head, are they? So that's what I'm thinking.
How good's Marcus Smith been? Do you reckon he's got a chance of being on the bench for the first test?
No, I don't. And I'm not trying to be horrible to Marcus Smith because I love the story of what we've seen so far. I love the fact that, you know, he's been central to Quinn's success, and you know, he's a youngster that's come in over the last couple of years, taken over for Nick Evans. You know, we've gone over the story, haven't we? You know, the comeback against Bristol's, then winning the final, but then he plays for England. Everyone's been crying out for Marcus Smith to be given an opportunity with England, and now Eddie Jones picks him. He plays well again in those 2 tests. Gats takes it to another level, and it just goes to show his performance, and I know it's a team run, but his actual individual brilliance at times against the Stormers at the weekend, it was a perfect performance from him with a lot of his skill sets, his touches, his outside break. You know, is he going to start or be on the bench in the test series that starts next week when he's just got out there? No, I don't think he is. Does it change test 2, test 3? Quite possibly. I think, you know, for me, I think Dan Bigger starts and Aaron Farrell's on the bench as he 2 10s, but Marcus Smith couldn't have done any more to get himself in the mix. And you know, it's brilliant to see his success over the last few weeks and obviously how well he performed at the weekend.
Well, we can go inside the Lions camp now and have a chat with a man who's been busy making sure the squad are as prepared as they possibly can be to take on the Springboks in the first test this weekend. British and Irish Lions strength and conditioning coach and former Great Britain Rugby League international Jon Clarke joins us. How are you, mate?
I'm good, thank you, mate. How are you?
Good, thanks. Thanks for coming on.
Pleasure, absolute pleasure.
Jon, thanks for coming on, mate. Let's get it straight out there. Right, is Alun Wyn Jones starting at the weekend? Who's starting 10 and what's the centre partnership, mate? Because we're talking about it here. If you can't tell us, then we're going to have to wait till Thursday.
I think Alun Wyn's at centre, Jim. I think Alun Wyn's playing at centre, mate, so he's...
Noted.
There we go.
Yeah, of course. Thank you for that.
Awesome. Let's talk about it. It must have been so tough for you as an S&C coach. First and foremost, gelling the boys, but secondly, living by the bubbles that you've been living by. How tough's it been? Because I know the lads are exceptionally happy now. You're down near Cape Town, the golf's going on. Are you as an S&C coach allowing them to play as much golf as they want, or are you the sort of guy that has to control them a little bit?
Yeah, a little bit. Obviously, the course is amazing at the Arabella where we are, so they're keen. LCD tells me he plays 4 or 5 times a week at Exeter, and he's trying to get that. But no, we're just on the days off they can go and play 9 holes, 18 holes if they've got a couple of days off. So we're monitoring that. But yeah, it's been a good few weeks. Obviously, we went to Jersey early on where we had a really tough few weeks training twice a day, 3-4 times for the first week, and then we ripped into that second week as well, leading into Japan game. So they've done some tough work. They've been really, really diligent in the way they've gone about the work, and then obviously we have 2 games a week leading into these test matches. So they've got plenty of work in, they've got plenty of recovery in. So I think we're in a good place going into this first test.
Tell us about some of the recovery sessions, because I hear there's a funny story to be had around something that happened in Jersey. I don't know who with, but obviously I've got moles. I speak to Gats regularly, he's my mentor, and he said something went down in Jersey. Jon, can you tell us, mate, what happened?
Well, there just ended up being a couple of players. We went. There's a nice bit in the sea which was basically wall, and it created like a little swimming pool. So me and a couple of players, we were last from training, so we went down there and. Yeah, the boys were in there. I'm just stood on the side, and the boys just swung over to the side and said, "I'm sure there's someone over there with not much clothes on." And there was a girl swimming around. I was like, "No, she's good." Anyway, so we're walking back, and then this young lady just decides she's getting out of this little pool area within the sea, and she has not got a thing on. Started head to toe, not a thing on, and then just proceeded to pick up a towel in front of all 3 of us. So it was, needless to say, Jim, we went back for recovery the same day. The rest of the time we're there, but unfortunately, mate, it's not seen again.
Same time, Same place.
Yeah,
Gutted, mate. Well, I'm sure Bobby Stridgeon would have been down there 24/7, wouldn't he, having a look? How was it working with Bobby? Because he coached me years and years and years ago. Such a top bloke. He's been known for his jovial banter around, alongside working the boys exceptionally hard and getting the best out of them. You must be really loving him, another Northerner, to work together.
Well, I've actually known Bobby, or Stridgeon, we used to call him at Warrington. He was actually my conditioner back in the day, 2007, 2008 at Warrington, before he got approached by Martin Johnson to go to England, and then just left us in the lurch at Warrington. Off he went to England and bigger, better things. But there was never any doubt sort of the way he was going and with his character. So yeah, he's been immense. Obviously, he's got his own unique way of doing things. But an excellent conditioner of that. The rope has been present, shall we say?
Has it? That's what I was going to say.
Yeah. Well, I'm timing lads in drills. I'm looking at my watch, and then I get a crack on the back of the hand with a rope, and it's it's everywhere, shall we say? Lads are getting dead arms, and he's been brilliant. Obviously, I've known him a long time. Picked me to come in and help him out along with Hugh Bennett and Brian, the other lads. So we've got a good S&C team. Feel like we've got a good, strong S&C team. As you know, on these tours, you need motivators, don't you? And people to get you up, and when you're not quite feeling it, arm around you here and there, and a rocket up your backside here and there as well. So I think we've got a good, between us, I think we've got a good grasp across the boys.
Yeah, energizers. Jon, just give us a bit of kind of inside intel into the nick of some of the lads. I think some of the people listening to this will be in arguably worse shape than Goodey, but if not in line with Goodey in terms of the kind of shape they're in. But I don't imagine the lads are coming there unless you're Tom Curry trying to get PBs on the bench press and and when they're doing their sprints and that. But the level of athletes now, and how athletic you need to be a professional rugby player, but to be the elite of the elite, which is effectively what you're working with. Is it frightening to see the evolution of these athletes, like guys like Rees-Zammit coming through, who arguably is still a kid? Marcus Smith obviously coming on tour, but just give us some insight into the athleticism of some of these players.
Well, the demands of the game are just going up and up and up, aren't they? Every year, the game's getting quicker, harder. The ball in play, that's staying in a little bit longer. So the way we're training boys is just having to evolve with that as well. So, but yeah, like Tom Curry, for instance, he is an absolute, freak in terms of what he can do. We look at max velocity, so how fast boys can run. Louis, Zamo, he'll run over 10. Jadzi, they'll all run over the 10, the outside back. But Tom Curry now he's got this obsession of running over 10 meters per second. So, that would be his weight, 110, 111 kilograms, to be able to move that quick is phenomenal. And then down the other end, in the pack, you've got these forwards who, if you look at the front row, what they have to do, it's outrageous, really, isn't it? They've got to carry the ball. They've got to make double figures tackles. They've got to scrum. They've got to lift in line-outs. The demands on them players is absolutely phenomenal. So to do what they do for the period of time they do it, I think is incredible and just a testament to sort of how hard they have to work off the field. And also on the back of that, there is the recovery. The recovery now is so important and so big. The nutrition, the sleep. The way they recover after training, between training sessions, everything's just taken care of now, and a huge demand put on them to make sure that actually when it comes to go time of the game, that they're in as good a condition as possible.
Mate, you just mentioned some stats then about 10 meters a second. That's not great, to be honest. My missus measured me to get to the buffet on holiday last week. I did 11 meters in 1 second to get there first. And I won the race. So, and you talk about recovery. My recovery was about 7 or 8 beers after a game. Is there an ability to have a few beers? Because part of the Lions tour is, the historical Lions tours. You need that time to gel together, and both pre-tour when you're getting to know each other, say down in Jersey, but also you're in South Africa now. You're living in this really tough bubble. Mentally for the boys, it must be really difficult. But are you allowing them to have a beer as well? I know you're only allowed to play 9 hours of golf. That's horrible. Just let them play 18 as long as they're in a buggy. But are they allowed to have a few beers as well? Has there been a bit of that around the recovery?
Yeah, obviously I've not worked with Gats before, but obviously I've heard it. I think the blend of hard work and enjoying yourself is fantastic. And when we're on, we're on, and when we're off, you're off, and you're treated like a man, and you're left to your own devices and to do that. So there is times within the schedule, the way the schedule's set up for them boys to relax and have a drink. And the COVID thing as well, I think it depends which way you look at it, doesn't it? Yeah, they can't go out and do the other things, but actually what it has done, it's encapsulated the players to actually spend more time together than they probably would have gone to. So they are playing golf together. There's cards tables, we've got the pool table, there's Curry and Tide Furlong. Josh Navid is brilliant on the decks. Navici, as they call him now, like he's teaching them to become DJs. They've had scrum and base t-shirts and caps made up, all spelt wrong. So yes, the bubble can be an issue, but actually, I believe from watching them, it's making these lads probably as tight as they could be in this situation, which I think is brilliant.
Who's cutting the lids? Because I'm seeing I saw an outrageous lid with obviously Rees-Zammit. I thought he was going to shave it off at half time. He had the lightning bolt in. I thought if Cheslin Colby skins him, he's going to have to shave it off like my mate did playing for Bath at the time, where he had a Mohican, shaved it off, and he got subbed off and he was raging. But who's doing the lids? Because there's a few lads in there that are big on themselves, looking sharp. Are they doing it themselves? Have you got a hairdresser? What's happening?
Yeah, so obviously, so head of medical Prav, he's pretty good with the clippers, so he takes care of the players, and then we as staff get his understudy Kieran Cosgrove, who's the doctor. So he'd never done a straight blade shave before, so I let him have a go at mine the other day, and I knew he'd cut it in the afternoon. I knew I was in trouble because that evening the staff were sat round, and I walked past, and he stood up in the middle of the staff and said, JC, I'll come and have another go at that if that's all right.
He's done you.
Yeah, he's done me so. But yeah, no. So Prav cuts him. He does a great job with the boys. Like he's head of medical, so he's dealing with COVID. He's dealing with injuries, illnesses. All the regalia that goes with being a head of medical, and he's doing 10, 12 cuts the day before a game. So it's But that's what people are prepared to do in these camps, to just go above and beyond to make sure that the boys are good.
Yeah, of course. I was going to ask another question as well around the nick of some of the lads. Everyone would have seen the photo of the lads from the Springbok team in the 2019 World Cup, where they had a combined body fat of probably 3 or 4%.
Dubious.
Yeah, exactly. Very dubious. Yeah, the fact he stayed at the back. Xander Fagerson, who let him have a picture taken with his shirt off, looking like a bag of sick in the sea? It's back before you fly, because that's part of it, isn't it? Surely your role must be like, lads, you can't take your top off. Mako, you can't take your top off. I'm sitting in with the shirt off. But Tom Curry, Hamish Watson, you lads, you can prance around because it's going to make me look good. Does anyone monitor that as well, or not, about who can have the shirts off?
Yeah, well, to be honest with you, we should probably monitor it a bit closer, more closely. So, there's a couple who could probably get you the sack, and there's probably who could get you another 50 grand a year, isn't there? So it's the case of having the camera in the right space.
You'd have hated to work with me then, mate, because I'd have definitely got you the sack at some point. Actually, you'd have got me the sack. You'd have just said, I can't work with that mess.
I'm not a miracle worker, mate. So.
Talk about practical jokers. And I know you've had your hair done, and that's obviously a practical joke. Talk about some practical jokers in the squad. There seems to be a really tight sort of ethos around not only just the players, but the management and coaches and S&C yourself. And S&C are genuinely the butt of a few jokes, a bit of abuse, but also leading the charge as well. Who are the good practical jokers in the group? Is Tim Percival, the head of sort of comms, is he getting his pants pulled down like
he's in the
someone did on the last tour?
No. In terms of practical jokes, there's not been many. What has been really good is the fine system that the boys have got going. So they're literally fining each other for anything. And the ironic bit is Mako's head of fines, and I think he was the first one to actually get fined for missing something or being late. So there's a couple of boys down there now. I've just had dinner, and Maro Toje is sat in his full suit, shirt, tie, shoes, jacket, everything for whatever he's done. Mako's been the same. Johnny Hill's the same. He's got these school pants on that are mid-shin. So the fine system's legendary, and that's where Zammo's haircuts come from. So and I'm sure it's just basically anything that they get fined for, there's a dice roll, and obviously there's consequences for each roll. So that's quite fun to see how that pans out.
And the worst one, Ken Owens has brought his missus on tour, hasn't he?
Yeah. I'm saying.
Hang on.
I'm saying.
Is that true?
Yeah, she's part of the backroom team, isn't she, in terms of the video footage and all the stuff that's going on social media. So effectively, he's just brought his missus on tour. That's a fine every day for me.
Separate rooms, I believe.
All the best.
Of course, absolutely. As well, while we've got you, John, tell us about the Bobby Cup. I know it's been out there in other podcasts and other public domains. We've not specifically been told, but if you can tell our millions of listeners and viewers what that is, that might give them a bit of insight into why he's so legendary in wearing the red shirts of the Lions.
Yeah, so I think it actually evolved from his Wasps days. Obviously, he got the nickname Bobby Boucher for the water boy, and then the Bobby Cup now. So if we win 2 games on the run, the Bobby Cup comes out. So, and it can be anything. He's done through the keyhole, trying to work out who lads are. But the first Bobby Cup that he basically introduced all the coaching staff and had clips and all sorts about the coaching staff. And the best one was about Gregor. He said there's a reason why Gregor's an attack coach, because basically have a look at this, and there was just clip after clip after clip of Gregor missing tackles. It was brilliant. Going along with it was just comedy. So that, and then he'll basically present it to a player for a big moment in the week, a big moment in the match, a man of the match performance. So I think first week we had probably 2 or 3 lads who could have got it. Hoggy for that chase back that he did, but I think Jadzzy scored 17 tries or something, didn't he, in 25 minutes? So I think it was hard not to give it him. So, but yeah, it's so every 2 games basically, we win 2 games and the Bobby Cup will be out, and Stridge will be doing this thing, which is legendary to see.
Legend. Let's just talk, obviously, a massive week. We've got a full week's build up into it. We've seen in the press today that there's Barfin Russell, pretty much a full bill of health. Have you gone and knocked on Gats's door with the medical team and said, we've done a pretty good job here, where's the pay rise? Because it is a brutal tour, isn't it? And having that going into the first test week where everyone's fit, Barfin Russell is brilliant from you boys.
Yeah, well, I think as S&C, it's easy to put your hand up, isn't it, when everything's going well. But the one thing I have learned over the years is when you get a fully fit squad to pick from, it's a massive joint effort. Coaches, medical, S&C, off the field. Because stress is, off the field stress can cause injury, on field stress can cause injury. So when you get such a good collaboration of all these different units, it's great that then, leading into a first test, we can produce virtually a fully fit squad to pick from. So I think that's testament to what the whole of the Lions party is about, really. So yeah, we'll take credit for his S&Cs and coaches, but I think it's a huge effort all around to get what's effectively a 40-man squad now. To only have probably one not quite up for selection is a big plus.
All right, John. Well, thank you very much for joining us, and best of luck for the rest of the tour.
Pleasure, boys. Thanks for having me on. Love it.
Top lad. Northerner.
Yeah, mate. I love Northerners. I don't know what it is. All my favourite comedians are Northerners. And we get any Northern on this show, and they're just salt the earth good lads, aren't they? They take the piss out of themselves, they'll take the piss out of other people. You have a crack with them, but they graft and they work hard, don't they? So
they're the ones you want in the squad, Goody, because they are the ones that take the piss, but they're the ones that when the shit hits the fan, or when you need to work, or you need to run through a wall, I'll run through any wall for a Northern man, apart from Faz. Apart from him, any other Northern man, I will run through a wall for.
Yeah, top bloke. And you're dead right. It's the banter that's going around. S&C coaches get a load of abuse, don't they, from the players, but they give a lot back. And him and Bobby Stridgeon, the rope. For people, should we tell people what the rope is? It's not hard to work out, is it? The third leg. They're both great boys, and they're definitely energy givers, aren't they, to the squad? And the boys will be buzzing working for those two.
Warren Gatton will be naming his team for the first test on Thursday, but everyone's got their view on who should be in and who shouldn't be. So let's get your Lions 15 now then, lads. Take us through 1 to 15 and why you've gone for them.
This is the team, and I don't think I'm far away from it. So I'm going Wyn Jones, who, by the way, I tweeted back in February that this guy's going to be a Lion, and people are asking me if I'm taking the piss or not. Uncle Hamish called it. I'm an expert.
You knows your ruggers.
So I'm going for Wyn Jones.
Yeah,
Rory Sutherland's got a real opportunity to start. He has. But Rory Sutherland, the build to that, he's been injured. Wyn Jones, for me, will stand out in the Six Nations, whether you like it or not. He's good over ball, which is important, obviously. And I'm a big fan of his. Mako, unfortunately, scrum penalties. Whatever reason, he's in the heads of the referees. World Cup final, could be on the bench. Luke Cowan-Dickie. No one has stood out for me in the last year in world rugby as hooker than him. Oh, my chopperoo tackle. Hard as nails. He's in form. So line-outs on point. He's in there. You could argue for Jamie George as well. Ken Owens, Sheriff. Love him. It's one of the hardest positions to pick, but I've gone for Luke Cowan-Dickie.
I'm disagreeing, Jim. I'm picking Ken Owens. I just think he's Gats's lieutenant for years. It's so close between the three hookers, isn't it? And what each one brings to the table. But yeah, I'm just going Ken Owens. I'm going to have to disagree with you, Jim.
No, I don't think there's anything in it. I think Luke Cowan-Dickie's tackling gets him in.
Yeah.
Anyway, I'm naming the forwards. You want me to say yay or nay? Tyke Furlong, no one's tested him really. Sinclair off the bench. Xander Ferguson's not done enough on tour for me, unfortunately. Obviously had a back injury. Tyke Furlong is probably head and shoulders ahead. He's a head above the tight head. Sinclair obviously got called up on tour late. So Tyke Furlong, I reckon Sinclair will be on the bench.
Yeah, I agree with you, mate. Can't disagree with that.
Can't disagree with it. Marrow in the second row, a given. Alun Wyn Jones, captain, he's in. Agree?
Agree, mate. Completely agree. If
If
Alun Wyn Jones is there, you have to start him.
And if he's there, we care. Get it?
Yeah, exactly. And I think some people are saying stick him on the bench, blah, blah, blah. But you need him from the start. Make him lead. And then you can, if he's flagging a bit later, take him off then.
The back row is an interesting one.
Tough,
because it is the toughest one because of the quality of players. I think Ty Burns sneaked past Courtney Laws. I don't think he'll go for Curry and Hamish Watson. And people are mentioning them at 6 and 7. Well, have you seen them at 6 and 7 before? Have you ever seen Hamish Watson? Have you ever seen Hamish Watson play 6 or Tom Curry? I'm sure Tom Curry's probably played 6.
Curry has,
but not really. He's a 7.
Yeah, but he's also played 8.
Yeah, he has played 8, but has he played 8? So I've gone for Ty Burn. He's done enough. He's been standout in some of the stuff that he's done. Good over ball, scores tries, and was wicked in the Six Nations.
Yeah, I just think that Courtney Laws starts ahead of Tyburn at 6. The physicality, what happened against the Springboks A, South Africa A, with that physicality, Courtney Laws is primed to take that on. So I think Big Court starts at 6 ahead of Tyburn.
And 7. Andrew, I put it out there because Hamish ain't speaking to me now. It is test week, but I've gone for Tom Curry. Now, I don't think it makes a big difference. It matters who goes in there. Warren Gatland said that they're both playing really well. I just think he'll go for Tom Curry because he's more up and down physical in terms of the tackle, in terms of the collision. Hamish Watson's slightly different, the way that he carries. He's a monster ball carrier. South Africa need to stop them dead. I think Hamish Watson against Peter Steph Toy is getting tackled hard. Tom Curry is getting tackled hard. So it's much of a muchness when it comes to the ball carrier because you're getting fucking monsters anyway. So I reckon Tom Curry just edges it around the contact area.
Yeah, agreed. They're both world-class 7s, both sides of the ball carrying and getting over it. Curry he's a coach's dream, isn't he? Just how he plays. He's so physical, so energetic. He doesn't give many penalties away as a 7. But yeah, so I completely agree. I think Curry just starts ahead of Hamish Watson, but I'm having Hamish on the bench.
Definitely. Ahead of Sam Simmons, unfortunately. Taulupe Faletau at 8. Arguably, you could say he's not been amazing, but we don't want to go back 4 years to 2017. But he's a big game player. He's a big bloke. He's unbelievable in the carry. He's unbelievable in open space. And I'll reiterate, he's a big game player. I don't think Sam Simmons has had enough. I don't think he's had enough exposure on tour. Do you know what I mean? For whatever reason, however it's unfolded for him, Faletau is one of them players that has enough in the bank to be like, mate, you're starting 8. Unless someone puts their hand up and goes around absolutely carving up, you're in. So Taulupe Faletau at 8.
Yeah, agreed. It's one of them that some players will get picked on a little bit of what they've got in the bank, credit-wise, with gaps. And I think this is one for Taulupe Faletau. Big game player, will rock up. He may not start all 3 tests. We'll see what happens. But I think for this first one, Taulupe Faletau starts at 8.
You're going to hit the back lines, Andrew. You're going to go through it.
The backs, Jim, my area of expertise. I may have the forward of a body, but I've got the brain of a back. So, scrum half, Conor Murray. He's been named as captain. He's a controlling 9. I know some people think he hasn't performed as well as Ali Price and Gareth Davis potentially on the tour, but again, it's been team runs, hasn't it, for those boys that they've been front football and they've been really good. So I think Conor Murray's control, his kicking game, his experience, the fact that he was named skipper, I think he gets to start at 9.
I am you convinced me.
He's changed.
Well, only because I think it will change for the second test. I see it.
It ain't about the second test now, Jim.
Yeah, I know, but I think you're right. I think with Conor Murray, you're right. And when I look through the archives, and I look through the game from last week, Ali Price has been on the front foot. Conor Murray is proven at the highest level. He hasn't played that well. He's a big game player. He's Gats's captain, vice captain. You ain't not going to play him. I think Ali Price should play. I think Ali Price should play the second test. But yeah, let's go. I'm agreeing with you.
But you saying Ali Price will start in the second test means that we probably lose the first test because you need to make a change at 9. So why are you being so negative, Jim?
Not necessarily.
I'm telling you, if we win the first test and Conor Murray starts at 9, he's definitely starting at 9 in the second unless he's injured. Fly half. For me, it's actually.
Why is it tough? Why are you pausing?
I was going to say. I'm not. It's not even. What I'm saying is, it's not even close for me. Dan Biggar starts all day long. Owen Farrell, he played at 12 in one game. He played at 10 in a couple of others, and has been all right. But Dan Biggar, the form that he's been in, his competitiveness, his ability to play at the game line, his kicking, everything about him. We're massive Dan Biggar fans, aren't we? His missus bakes unbelievable cakes. I'm still waiting for him, but. To me, it's a no-brainer. Dan Biggar starts the form 10. They wrapped him in cotton wool for the game at the weekend because of his ankle, but Warren Gatland said if it was a test match, he'd be starting. So I'm going Dan Biggar at 10.
Yeah, rare.
Centres, this is where it gets interesting because you can make a case for so many different combinations. A lot of people are are saying that some players should play in certain positions. I'm just going for the Irish combo. What I picked pre-tour and what I think a lot of people would have expected: Bundy Aki at 12 and Robbie Henshaw at 13. That's my selection. There's people that are making a case for Elliot Daly to play 13. Chris Harris has played exceptionally well. I just think the combo of those two, the power of Bundy Aki, the physicality that we're going to need, and also Henshaw as well. I know he's only played 50 odd minutes, but he's in world class. He's a world class player, world class form. Prior to the injury that he picked up, for me it's those two in the centres. People said maybe Farrell at 12. I don't think that Farrell and bigger axis is something you go into the first test with at 10 and 12. I think for me it's Bundy Aki and Robbie Henshaw.
I've gone for Bundy Aki and Chris Harris. I think Chris Harris is one of them players that stood out. One of them stories that, again, a player that I picked out before the tour to go. No one saw it, and he's rocked up. I'll tell you what I wouldn't be surprised with. I won't be surprised if Farrell plays 12.
I just can't see it.
I wouldn't be surprised. I don't think he should, but I won't be surprised if he starts at 12. Yeah. That's what I get
your sentiment. I get your sentiment around it. I just don't think that's right. Bundy Aki is what you need, I think, for this first test.
Well, that's who I've got. I'll stick with Bundy Aki.
Good man. The only thing about Chris Harris, he's played exceptionally well, but sometimes you see something, and don't get me wrong, Cheslin Colby has skinned a lot of players in his time. The fact that he skinned Chris Harris, is that something that will stick in Gats's mind and just go with Henshaw because of it? I think that's something that, unfortunately, listen, Cheslin Colby is going to skin many, many more players, better and worse than Chris Harris. But I think that's the one thing. It's horrible to count that one thing against him, but perhaps that's what it is. So that's why I've gone Henshaw at 13. Back three is interesting as well, because again, it's really tough to pick. All the back three players you can make cases for. The back three that I've gone for is Anthony Watson and Josh Adams on the wings, and Liam Williams at fullback. You can make an argument for Stuart Hogg. You can make an argument for Duhan van der Merwe, who's big and powerful, and you need that against the Boks. Has he been really tested? I think when you're talking top tier players, Anthony Watson's world class on the wing or at fullback, and he's shown that on tour. Josh Adams, you can't argue with anything that he's done on this tour. He's been phenomenal, scoring tries for fun, doesn't make mistakes, really good on the high ball. And Liam Williams, the bomb diffuser, that's coming all day long, and I think that's a huge strength of his. And I think he fully deserves to start ahead of Hoggy at fullback. And unfortunately for Hoggy, it is exceptionally difficult. It's so close to call. There's a number of other players that Lewis Rees-Zammit's been great on tour as well, but does his experience count against him a tiny bit? And I think that's why Gatlin goes with Anthony Watson. I think that's why Gatlin goes with Anthony Watson, Josh Adams, and Liam Williams.
Yeah, I went for Josh Adams and Liam Williams as well. I put Van der Merwe in, but I think if Aki plays, then they might not put Duhan in. But if they put Farrell in at 12, I think Duhan will play 11. But I agree with you. Anthony Watson is one of my favourite players, and I've not put him in the starting 15. But again, this is almost like a cop-out, but I wouldn't be surprised if he is. But the back three is hard to pick. The centres are hard to pick. I think the rest of them, 6 and 7 are hard to pick. 9 and 10. Actually, fuck it. 1 to 15. They called it. The lads called it. The team selection was really hard to pick, and we're struggling here. But I've gone Van der Merwe, Josh Adams, and Liam Williams is a big game player. Hoggy, unfortunately, has been ill. He's obviously on catch-up as well. I wouldn't be surprised to see him in a second or third test. But for this one, Liam Williams as well, who enjoys a beer. It's non-alcoholic.
Who are you guys chucking on the bench?
Are you agreeing 6-2, Andrew?
No.
You're not?
No, I'm not. No, I'm not. I'm going. I don't agree with 6-2 at all. I hate it.
I know you don't, but it's South Africa old school. I'll go through then what I think. So I think it will be Rory Sutherland. I think it will be ahead of Mako. But Mako brings off the bench his ball carrying ability, but his scrum he's just getting pinged left, right, and centre. Genuinely.
I just think around the park, what he adds is great to have an impetus off the bench. So,
and you could arguably say that Rory Sutherland is a starter, not a bench man. You've convinced me again. I'm going for Mako on the bench. Hooker's interesting. Again, I'm going for Jamie George. I don't know why. Maybe there's the romance around it. But Ken Owens, again, there's an argument for him.
I've gone Jamie George on the bench, but I've gone Ken Owens to start.
And no Luke Cowan-Dickie, you've gone. Yeah. I'm going Sinclair. He's been good when he's played. He adds real impetus off the bench.
100%.
The second row, back row, I suppose the worry is Alun Wyn Jones. Like, can he do a full 80? What if Eben Etzebeth runs Route 1 Chinatown and it hits him with a fourth leg? What happens then? So you need to have cover for him. If you've got Ty Burn playing at 6, maybe he steps up and Hamish Watson is cover, or a Sam Simmons. But I'm going to go with Courtney Laws on the bench.
I've gone Ty Burn on the bench because Courtney Laws is starting, so we're just flipping those round.
All right, Courtney Laws on the bench with Hamish Watson ahead of a Sam Simmons. So that's 5, is it?
I've gone Hamish Watson as well. Yeah, that's my 5 forwards on the bench.
Yeah, I'm going to go 5. I'm going to stick with them 5 forwards. You've convinced me again.
He's changed again.
Yeah. So I'll go for him. I'll go for Ali Price, even though he should be starting.
Yeah, I'm going for Gareth Davis.
Are you?
Yeah.
Off what basis?
Just what he's a try scorer. He's got a lot of history with Gats in terms of Gats knows exactly what he can do as a player. You think of big moments that he's created for Wales and scored for Wales. I just think he's ahead of Ali Price in that experience category. And Ali Price has been great and does add something different off the bench, but so does Gareth Davis. I just think the experience counts for him, and Gareth Davis will be on the bench.
Right, you go. I've just stolen your thunder there by choosing your 9. You give us the next 2.
And then my next 2 are 2 Saracens. Owen Farrell, who will cover 10 and 12, because obviously you need some adaptability on the bench. And then Elliot Daly, boomer of a left foot, can play 13, 11, 14 and 15, so covers all the back 3.
And been good on tour as well.
Yeah, been a very good player. It was close that I wanted to kind of pick him at 13 as well, Elliot Daly, but I just think with Henshaw's experience and everything that he brings, Elliot Daly's option off the bench is spot on.
Let's get your predictions then. What's going to happen in the first test, lads?
4 red cards.
Here's hoping, bit of drama.
Yeah, there's going to be drama, isn't there? Let's not beat around Jim's bush. I think some of the South Africans they live on the edge the way they defend. We've seen what happened for Corey Bietti for Australia against France. You only need to be half an inch out. Faf de Klerk's one, he was very lucky for me to only get yellow. There was one where I think Jesse Creel steps off the wing and forearm smashes Chris Harris in the face, jumping into something is going to click and something is going to possibly go wrong for South Africa. I think the Lions win it by 3 points. It's going to be so tight. The forward battle is going to be phenomenal. The physicality early on, it's going to be cagey. We know that Andre Pollard and Faf de Klerk are going to kick the leather off it at times. Even Peter de Villiers, the old South African coach, has come out with this weekend saying, has come out with a statement saying Cheslin Kolbe's wasted playing for the Springboks because they play ball and rugby. Hang on a minute, mate. They've just won the World Cup, which, I know it was a couple of years ago. Cheslin Kolbe played for Springboks A, still rinsed someone and created a try. So, yeah, ridiculous. There's so much threat in terms of what South Africa have got. Do I think Willie LaRue at fullback is a slight weakness? Yes. Don't want to be horrible, but Jim used to call him Willie LaPoo. That's not very nice, Jim.
Only at Wasps.
Yeah. They are going to lift up another level. Playing for that Springbok jersey is something that perhaps we can't really fathom of how much it means to them, especially again at this moment, the way the country is. But the Lions boys, I just think the fitness might show in the last 20 minutes where we can pick up the pace of the game. For me, you bring on players like Ty Burn, who can change a game. You bring on Hamish Watson as well for another energy ball. Carl Sinclair. I think our bench depth, especially up front, is probably a little bit better. So I'm going Lions by 3 points. But it's going to be feisty.
I think Lions will win it. I think South Africa are limping into this game. And I say that with the utmost respect. But you look in the news this week, Sia Khaleesi's not training yet. There's a number of others not training yet. It's been a disjointed build-up. Speaking to Jon Clarke, you could even hear it in his voice, couldn't you? Like the bit between the teeth around the physicality, if they can get that right. And look, there's no doubt about these 3 games are going to be close. I think I love how we say we, I feel part of it. I feel like I belong there. I think it's going to be close. Again, 2 or 3 point game. I think something big's going to happen. Of course it is. It's the Lions test match in South Africa. But Lions, 2 or 3 points as well.
Thanks, Jim. Thanks, Goodey. Thanks, producer Tim, and thank you very much for listening. Don't forget to check us out on YouTube. We've just posted my interview with John Bentley about the 97 Lions tour to South Africa, and make sure you head on over to Spotify, and we'll see you all there.
Rugby Spod.
Spotted pod.